and welcome to Learning Music with Pat. You know, when you first start learning music, when you first start taking lessons, the first thing that you get is a music book, an instruction book. So I have brought along 2 or 3 instruction books just to show you what's in them. I know people try to teach themselves music without using instruction books and without having a teacher. That is usually quite a mistake. You can get into all kinds of bad habits and not necessarily be able to reverse the bad habits, the wrong fingerings for certain notes and so forth. It's better to have somebody show you, and if you're going to teach yourself, get yourself a really good music book, and I'm going to show some to you this morning. And then I have somebody that can coach you while you're using your music books so you know what you're doing is right. Now, watching the show is a way of coaching you as well, so people can learn by watching on television if they pay close attention to what the teacher's doing. So let me show you some music books. This one here is one I've used a lot, and it's called Standard of Excellence. It is a very good one. They do it for certain instruments, for all instruments. It has the same kind of cover no matter which one you buy. And this one, of course, is for the flute. And this is typical of music books. This is what they usually have. They first start out with a diagram of the instrument that you're playing. And this shows you the foot joint, the head joint, the body. This is the embouchure hole, the plate around the embouchure hole, and they go through the whole thing and they kind of divide it off into sections, and it actually is a very, very good drawing. And that's followed by several other drawings that are also very good in terms of how to put the instrument together. You don't jam it together, you twist it on gently, how you can find out if the notes and the keys are all aligned right, how you hold it to one side with your mouth, you know, almost like it was a Coke bottle, although I hate to say that because that's an oversimplification. How you hold your mouth and how you breathe across the instrument, and it's actually quite a good rendition of some of the diagrams I've seen. I would choose this. This is a good one. This is a good book. I've used it for several instruments. I use them for clarinet, saxophone, and other woodwind instruments. And then you start your first note. Now in the flute, this is a flute book, and the first note is going to be a B flat, and it shows you on the top things like how you count your rests, how you count your notes, and what the fingerings are for the notes. I can't see it too clearly because I happen to be sitting toward the side of it, but I know the first note is a B flat, and on the flute, that I don't have a flute with me, but if I did, I would be holding it out to the side, and I would have one finger and the octave key closed on the left hand and another finger down here. That's a B flat on a flute. Now, why would I want them to teach, to learn a B flat? The instrument has a problem in terms of balancing. If you have not played it before, you can have a big problem balancing it. So they choose a note in which you're going to have one finger of each hand down, and so therefore it's going to be easier for you to balance the flute. On the recorder, the first note is likely to be a B, where you have your thumb hole closed and the first finger closed, and then you have the right hand on the back of the instrument, and your little finger on the right hand can balance the bottom of it, and you're going to find that helps to balance the flute, plus having it in your mouth. That would be all drawn out, of course, and we will get into recorder fingering charts as we go along here. This is flute, and the reason I brought it in is I want you to see what typically a music book is like. The other thing I like about this is the color. Color is very attractive to people, and it's very attractive to children. And it's not blaring color, it's neutral shades, but nonetheless it's color. Then you get to this page and it says flat. It shows you what a flat looks like, and it shows you the B, and then it shows you the B flat, how it has that symbol right before it, and it goes into whole notes and how you count them and so forth. So I won't go into this too much. It isn't recorder, but you go through that, and then if I want to switch over here You get various songs and you get various scales, and you see a lot. You know, you can tell you get a more and more complicated music as you go along. These songs are labeled. This is Walt Street, but it's one line. Theme from Symphony Number 9. It's 2 lines. Now, those are real songs. Symphony Number 9 does exist. And the problem I have with some of this is the fact that they don't give you enough of that song. They give you an opening line, that's it. Then you go to another song, just an opening line, and that's it. I think if there's a melody line, they should continue with the melody line so at least you know what you're hearing. It's not just one line of this and one line of that. I do have that against a lot of the books. Here's the new note. Here's another symbol where you go softer as you play, and this one you go louder as you play, and you learn all of these things. Now, let me switch over here. They actually have songs like this is a duet, a minuet, which has actually 3 lines to it. You could have a melody on the top line, and then you have the 2 lines afterwards, which are kind of like melody and harmony combined. It is actually, I think, a very nice book. Then you have scales. These are all in green. And you learn different kinds of scales. And then when you get to the end of the book, what do you get? You get another picture of the flute, and with little circles to tell you where to put your fingers on it. This is the back side of the flute. This would be where do your high notes and so forth. Your octave mechanism is here. And then this is a typical fingering chart for a flute. And you'll notice that the notes go out to one side rather than down. And the reason for that, of course, is that you hold the flute to one side. You don't hold it down. So this is one typical kind of book. When you get to more advanced books, which I'm going to show you, let me just put this down. When you get to more advanced books, you will find that some of those interesting little things that you get in the beginning books, you don't get that anymore. You do get more complicated fingering charts and things like that, but by the time you've gotten through the first book, you have some basic knowledge of the instrument that you're learning how to play. So it's not like you're a real beginner. You've already learned quite a bit. Then you get into a more advanced instrument or book, and I want to start right here. You can see that the music is more advanced. Now I may take this down to show you, but here's the chart, the fingering chart. I'm going to pull this out, and I may have to take the book down and show it to you by opening it up, and this is what I think I'll do. Here's your fingering chart. This is it, the whole fingering chart. Well, you have a diagram of the flute, and you have some information over here, but then you have 2 or 3 pages of the fingering chart. As a matter of fact, this goes on to the next page. This is the rest of it. Now, how many people do you think who are beginning students are going to try to figure this out? And I can say probably not many, but it's there. If you're an advanced student, then you would be learning all of these things. My idea of teaching it would be is show the person. It might be a lot easier because by the time you get through this, you've got several pages of nothing but fingering charts. Now let me fold this up and go on to other more advanced things. In this book, you even have it on another page here. Isn't that advanced and isn't that difficult? You'd have to spread it out on a table. Now you have a lot more advanced work. If you can take a look at this and just see how advanced this is. This is very, very advanced music. But here again, it's an advanced book. Then you go along and you get more advanced as you go. So the second book, third book, fourth book, and you get into professional level books where you learn a very great deal. And some of this, if you look at this, is very, very advanced. But this is a more advanced book. It's much different than what the beginning books are. Now, what I want to show you is an old, I brought it in specially. This book is about as old as I am. It's a very, very old music book, music instruction book. It was written in the 1930s, and I want to show you, first of all, take a look at the diagram of the recorder. This is a recorder book, and if you look at it, you can see how old it is, the way that the recorder is drawn. I mean, it's accurate, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's very, very old. So I want to take, this is the diagram of the recorder. Now, in any of your music books, except for the advanced books for flute and other instruments, you get diagrams of the instrument. And then I showed you the one for the flute, the beginning ones, and the advanced book doesn't have it because it doesn't need it because you already know what's in there. But here's the picture of the recorder on its side, and all of these little indentations are where your fingers would go. And it is accurate. It is the way that it is, but it's just an amazing way to see it. Most books don't show it that way. And here, now you're talking about an old book here, is a picture of the student playing the recorder. It's dark. There's not much you can see on it. It does show you clearly that your left hand goes on top and your right hand goes on the bottom. But a modern book wouldn't look like that. It just wouldn't. And then you have various discussions in terms of how you tongue and what the tone quality is like and things like that. And here is your fingering chart. It's not too hard to follow. It's not a bad fingering chart at all. It has the enharmonic notes, like here's the G, here's the G sharp, this is the A flat, then the A sharp, the B flat, and then the B. It has all of the notes that the recorder can play for the most part. It doesn't go up to the high C unless there is a second page here. I prefer to have music fingering charts on one page, not fiddle around with 3 or 4 pages to get them. So this is the fingering chart, and it would be hard to read that. You almost have to memorize which fingers are which fingers, but I'm going to show you something here that was a surprise to me. Instead of having 7 fingers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it has 8. If you look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Where does the 8 come in? If I look at my recorder, if I play the recorder, I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, B, A, G, F, E, D. And the 7th is going to be that little finger. So where's the 8th come from? Well, the 8th is the tone hole in the back. So what they have done, which I would never do, but what they have done is they've taken the tone hole in the back and they've made it the first group of fingers. You can see that some of these are half-holed and some of these are not. And then the first finger, or your second finger, would be your index finger. I would call that the first finger, but it would be the thumb is the first finger. So it's just a different way of doing it. But this is the way they used to do it. And then one of the other things that surprises me a whole lot, the first song, now this is a beginning book. The first song is in 3 sharps. 3 sharps is the key of A, and recorders don't play the key of A, or they don't play it well. Why put it in a key that no student's going to be able to master when they are beginning, and for the most part, the recorder doesn't even play it. I can fudge it, but you'd have to know what you're doing to fudge it. All of these notes are not notes that would be sharped or flatted. So therefore, you don't need to put it in a key of 3 sharps if there are no sharps. I know why they did it, because the teacher's part is a harmony part. And it does have a G sharp in it. So that takes it out of the key of D and puts it into the key of A. But, you know, it would be just easier to put it in the key of D, which is 2 sharps, and add that G sharp as an accidental, or put it in the key of C, which has no sharps or flats, and every time you get to one, add it as an accidental. It would make more sense to do that, because at some point I would want my student to go from this part, which is real easy, to play a harmony part, but they're not going to play in the key of A, especially, you know, when they're still beginning students, because first of all, the recorder doesn't do it. You get the same thing here. Now, these are very, very simple melodies. I'm going to take this off and play a couple for you and show you. This is a very, very beginning book. And you will see when I play it how beginning it sounds. That's the first song. You have 2 notes. You have the A, you have the B, and different time, a little bit of time signature difference here, but they're all half notes. So it's basically A, B, A, B, A. Now that's simple. It doesn't need to be in the key of A to do it. And let me play something else. Now that's not unusual for playing for a beginning lesson, or actually probably it would take about 3 weeks to be able to get to that point. So there's nothing wrong with that. And when you start playing an instrument, you play very, very simple things. I talk about doing exercises, but you do very, very simple things. And if I take this recorder again, I might write something like, you know, one thing that kids love to do is this song, they all love to play something like that, and I think the reason is it's their first real song. They're playing real notes, they're playing a real song, and they can play the whole thing. But you have to realize that all of this is very, very simple, and you don't do anything that's very hard when you first begin, and it takes time. With the flute, you may think that the flute is the simplest instrument that there is of the woodwinds to play. People have asked me, which is the simplest one? And if you want a regular instrument, then you'd have to say that possibly the flute. But the flute is not simple, as you might think. You have to have your embouchure just right, and it may take you several weeks before you can play any recognizable tones, because your embouchure has to develop over time. The recorder is a regular instrument, it's not a toy, so it's easier to get sounds out of. So basically that would be the simplest instrument. But if you want an instrument that you play in an orchestra or a band or something, the flute may be one of the simpler ones, but it still is difficult. It has certain areas of difficulty with it. So the other thing I'm concerned about in this book, and why I wouldn't use it, so you get your new note, A or B or whatever it is. There's no diagram as to what that note looks like. You know, you don't have that series of holes where you cover the holes and they're either black or they're white, depending upon whether they're closed or whether they're open. You don't get that. In order to get the fingering, if somebody's not showing it to you, you've got to flip back to the chart, the fingering chart, in the beginning. And that's just kind of a pain. It should be easier than that. You should have, if you have a new note, you should have a diagram of that note on every page that there's a new note. Now, this is what I was thinking of, hot cross buns. Hot cross buns. Every kid that I've ever taught loves hot cross buns. That's what I played before. And they'll come into their lessons and they'll say, do you mind if I start by playing hot cross buns? And of course, I always let them do it, because if they like something, let them play it, because it'll encourage them to keep going. So I had more versions of hot cross buns than you can imagine, but they love it. And I still think it's not hard, it's easy to play, but I think the thing is that you've got a whole song, they're playing the whole song, they're playing it by themselves, they're doing it okay, they know all of the fingerings, and for them it's like a big victory. I don't know any other reason why they would love hot cross buns so much, but they do. And this is about all I can show you. You know, it just goes on with these keys and these notes without any diagrams of the notes. But you've got to remember, this book was published in the 1930s, and it's quite an old book. Now, another thing, well, we've only got 3 minutes left, so I think what I'm going to do is close it here, and I'm going to show you more examples of fingering charts in the next segment, and we'll go on with it from there. So I'll close it here. Please join me next time.